Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my ongoing series on the Bhagavad Gita. We will pick up where we left off, which was the Shlok 23 of the Karma Yoga, where Bhagavan Shri Krishna is continuously instructing Arjuna in the ways of how to act properly in this world. And this video might not make much sense to you, so I would strongly urge and recommend that you guys watch the previous videos in this same series so that this makes some more sense. Without further ado, Shlok 23 of the third Adhyaya of the Bhagavad Gita. Yadi hyayam na varteyam jatu karmanyatindriya taha mama mama vadmanuvartante manusham partha sarvashah. For if I ever fail to engage in carefully performing my duties, O Partha, certainly all men would follow my path. So here Bhagavan Shri Krishna is basically telling Arjuna that why should he act in this world? Why should he fight for what is right? Why should he do what is dharma, what is the right thing? The reason being is that if he sets a bad example for other people, then other people will follow his path. And like so, essentially, a man's actions will have ripple effects, and that in some sense, people observe us acting and they say, "Oh, he's doing something bad. Why shouldn't I do this?" Or if he takes a bribe or he steals and he seems to be living a good life, why shouldn't I do that? Or he just ran away from the battlefield because it was in his self-interest. Why shouldn't I do the same thing? So this is what people should do. This is what you should set a good example for people. And Bhagavan Shri Krishna is saying, yeah, that is why, I am an avatar of Vishnu, but I have taken human form upon this earth because I also wish to set a good example. And this is what avatars of Vishnu have done. Whenever they took human form, regardless if it was Matsya, Varaha, Parshuram, Gautam Buddha, or Bhagavan Shri Krishna, they always showed the way, Patha Pradarshak, in some sense to people. Uts, उत्सीदेयुरिमे लोका न कुर्यां कर्म चेदहम संकरस्य च कर्ता स्यामुपहन्यामिमः प्रजाः. That is, if I did not perform my prescribed duties, all these worlds would be put to ruination. I would be the cause of creating unwanted population and thereby destroy the peace of all living beings. सक्ता कर्मण्य विद्वांसो यथा कुर्वन्ति भारत कुर्या विद्वांस विद्वस्थता सक्तशि चिरसु लोक संग्रहम. That is, as the ignorant perform their duties with attachment to results, the learned may similarly act, but without attachment, for the sake of leading people on the right path. So here he talks about the difference between those people who act for their selfish interests or those people who act in this world or may even sometimes act morally, but they always have an ulterior motive, and that ulterior motive is self-interest, or they're completely focused on what they will get. And he, according to the Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavan Shri Krishna, one is supposed to act without attachment in this world, without getting obsessed with what the results of our actions will be. Just do the right thing, and then what happens, leave it up to fate. न बुद्धि भेदम जन ये दज्ञानां कर्म संगीतना जोशयन जोशये सर्व कर्माणि विद्वान विद्वान नियुक्त समाचरण. That is, so as not to disrupt the minds of ignorant men attached to the fruitive results of prescribed duties. A learned person should not induce them to stop work. Rather, by working in the spirit of devotion, he should engage them in all sorts of activities for the gradual development of an enlightened consciousness. So, what Bhagavan Shri Krishna is telling is that even if you see some ignorant men who are just performing their, you know, duties but for selfish interest, the goal with such people is not to say, hey, stop working, hey, just focus on God. No, no, keep on doing your duties. And whilst they are doing their duties, you encourage them to have a spiritual outlook on that. You slowly bring them to God. rather than just telling them. And this is again and again, this focus on acting in the world is what distinguishes Hinduism and Buddhism. प्रकृते क्रियमाणानि गुणो कर्माणि सर्वशः अहंकार विमूढ़ात्मा कर्ता हिमिति मन्यते. That is, the spirit soul, bewildered by the influence of the false ego, thinks himself the doer of activities that are in actuality carried out by the three modes of material nature. So, what Bhagavan Shri Krishna is saying is that our body is made up in a certain way, and because of the way our body is constituted, we are forced to act, or we act in certain ways. And then we are deluded by our own consciousness into thinking that I did that. And what exactly do I mean by that? So there are different ways of looking at this, or there are different ways of explaining it. From a psychological perspective, classic psychology, right? From Sigmund Freud, you could say that there is a consciousness, there's a conscious mind which acts, and then there's a subconscious mind, and there's an unconscious mind. And according to Freud, what the subconscious and the unconscious mind does, we are not aware of it, right? And they also induce us to act in this world. And another example from neurophysiology would be the fact that the way the human brain is constructed, right? There is a core of the human brain which is called the brainstem. Around this brainstem, there is a part of the human brain that we share with reptiles. It is known as the reptilian complex. Right around this reptilian complex, there's something that we share with all mammals, which is the limbic system, which is responsible for emotions. And around this, there's the cerebral cortex. And the cerebral cortex, which is also known as the cerebrum, is the place where logical, rational activities take place and abstract reasoning takes place. And we often think, oh, my cerebrum is in control of all of it, but that's not true. If you ask any neuroscientist, he'll tell you that actually it's the brainstem and the limbic system which form the core motivational systems of all human beings. And so they decide what goal you want to pursue, and the cerebrum works to facilitate that goal. So, for example, right, what is the first, like, what is the internet, right? Internet was the product of the cerebrum, right? We build these incredible, insane technologies, and this led to the development of the internet. But what was the first thing that we used the internet for? Well, it was for cat videos and something else, which I think it's pretty clear from the implication what I'm implying. So, what was that? What was the motivation? It was our core motivational systems, which in this case Bhagavan Shri Krishna calls our modes of material nature, force us to act in certain ways, and then we delude ourselves into thinking, "Oh, I did this," but where is the I in this core motivational system, which is a product of 3.5, 3 billion years of evolution, if you want to be a scientific person. तत्व तत्वा वित्तु महाबाहो गुणकर्म विभागायो गुणा गुणेषु वर्तन्ति इति मत्वा न सज्जते. That is, one who is in knowledge of the absolute truth, Almighty Armed, does not engage himself in the senses and sense gratification, knowing well the differences between work in devotion and work for fruitive results. So again and again, Bhagavan Shri Krishna is emphasizing to Arjuna that work for devotion, work for the highest possible good that you can perceive. Don't work for selfish goals and selfish interests. प्रकृते गुण सम्मूढ़ा सज्जन्ते गुणकर्मसु तान कृत्सन्नाविदो मंदानृतस्विन्न विचालयेत्. That is, bewildered by the modes of material nature, the ignorant fully engage themselves in material activities and become attached. But the wise should not unsettle them, although these duties are inferior due to the performer's lack of knowledge. मयि सर्वाणि कर्माणि संन्यस्याध्यात्मचेतसः निराशी निर्ममो भूत्वा युद्धस्व विगतज्वरः. That is, O Arjun, surrendering all your works onto me, with full knowledge of me, without desire for profit, with no claims to proprietorship, and free from lethargy, fight. ये मे मतिमीढं नित्यं मनुतिष्ठन्ति मानवः श्रद्धावन्तो न सूयन्तो मुच्यन्ते ति कर्मभिः. That is, those persons who execute their duties according to my injunctions and who follow this teaching faithfully without envy become free from the bondage of fruitive actions. So again and again, this emphasis on acting without attachment in this world, and with the ultimate goal not being, going to heaven and enjoying the pleasures of apsaras or, rivers of wine or whatever. It is about detaching from this world, becoming free from the continuous cycle of birth and death, and uniting with the transcendent, or reuniting with the transcendent. ये त्वेतदभ्यसूयन्तो नानुतिष्ठन्ति ते मतं सर्वज्ञा न विमूढास्तान्विद्धि नष्टान्नचेतसः. That is, but for those out of envy disregard these teachings, do not follow them regularly, are considered to be bereft of all knowledge, befooled and ruined in their endeavors for perfection. So what he's saying is that even if you're striving for something great and something beyond yourself, if you're not acting in knowledge, if you're not acting without wisdom, then you may even gain material success in this world, but it won't fulfill you spiritually, and you'll always have a void. And this, I've often seen this happen, that people gain material success, but they still lack contentment. Why? Like we have, from a historical perspective, mankind rarely has enjoyed this level of prosperity. But still, we seem to be somewhere not as happy as even our ancestors. And maybe the reason is because we're not spiritually fulfilled. Uh, that's it for here. Thank you very much. Please continue to like, share, and subscribe. Let me know in your thoughts how you feel about it. And until then, Jai Shri Krishna.